Hey everyone, so I got another C-peptide test done and it has increased again, which is really good. Before I show the results of that though, I do just want to show what I ate just to be consistent. I'm gonna plan on doing this every time I get a C-peptide blood test just so it's kind of an apples to apples comparison. Just to keep the what I'm eating in preparation for the test to be consistent, just in case it matters. I don't know how much it impacts it, but and the reason I say that is because there was a study done with type 1 diabetic mice where they fast and then during the refeed is when the beta cells regenerated. So that's kind of what I'm doing here, but it's about it's a few days into eating after a fast, and that's actually just in this case. The previous one I got done in April. I didn't really fast, but I ate just meat for 3 or 4 days, and then followed that by eating a decent amount of fruit for the next 3 days or so, and then I got the blood test. So this is somewhat similar to that. In this case, I fasted for 3 days. One thing that's interesting about this fast, and it's happened before, but not always. Normally, when I fast, I'll have to take insulin for the first 3 days at least. If I go beyond that, then I can kind of stop taking insulin during the fast. But for a normal just 3 day fast, I usually have to take insulin the entire time. In this case, it was interesting because 15 units, you can see here, my first day of fast, I had to take 15 units, which for me is pretty high. I normally don't have to take quite that high. I mean, I have before, but that's still on the high side. But what was surprising is I didn't have to take insulin after it was about maybe 36 hours into the fast. I stopped eating late on August 5th, and my last shot of insulin was on the 7th, at around 9 a.m. So it was roughly 36 hours into the fast was my last shot of insulin, and I did not need to take any more insulin for the remainder of that second day and also the third day. That just for me was interesting just because the 15 units on the first day was pretty high, and then I all of a sudden didn't have to take much after a day and a half into the fast, or I didn't have to take any at all. So I don't necessarily know what that says, but just sharing. So after that, I did when I ate on the 9th, it was pretty much no carbs. I don't know what I ate there that had 5 carbs, but um, I think when I eat, just for my tracking purposes, I'll just enter 5 if I eat something, even if I didn't really have any carbs. So maybe that's why I put 5 in there. But then the following days, I started eating a decent amount of fruit. And the other thing I'll mention is I started in August this hot yoga thing, and I'm new to yoga, and it kicked my butt, and I'm absolutely loving it right now. But it is a new exercise, something that my body is not used to, and it is wiping me out. And I'm just mentioning that because, anything new, I think, tends to possibly metabolize glucose quicker. So just pointing that out, that could play a part as far as the low amounts of insulin that I'm taking here. On top of that, you'll see notes that I've also I joined this new place that opened up that is doing cold plunges. And they also have this red light therapy stuff and sauna and everything. So I'm also loving that. Cold water, I've always hated. I've not been a fan. And by the way, I'm not recommending anything. I don't know. I like, there's one side that says it's one of the greatest things for you. Then there's other people who say it's just a gimmick. I have no idea. I'm just trying it out. But for me, all I do know for certain is that I've hated cold water, and this just kind of goes hand in hand with my experience the past few months, as far as just on an emotional standpoint, as far as how I've been feeling and, facing those fears and facing your emotions. That's similar to this cold plunge thing where I hate cold water. The first time I did a cold plunge earlier this month, I screamed. Like I'm seriously a wuss with it. I screamed. I lasted maybe 20 seconds. I don't even know. I kind of lost track of time. I did not last that long, and I jumped out. It was pretty rough. But I've been doing it almost every day, 5 to 6 times a week now, and I stay in, dunk my head. I stay under there for 3 minutes. Consistently, I'm in there for 3 minutes, and I have to say I am loving it. Just the simple fact that I overcame that, I guess you can call it fear or displeasure of having being in cold water and just dealing with that pain. I'm just happy I did that. And then aside from that, the feeling that you get after that is just so amazing. I'm just I love it. I'm really enjoying doing this, so I'm going to keep it up for a while. And I'll, again, not recommending anything, just kind of pointing it out as a side note, but also because I in these notes here that you'll see, it'll mention that. So anyways, going through this, you'll see the net carbs. It is net carbs, not total carbs. So the total carbs is certainly more than the net carbs there. Net carbs subtracts out the fiber. I list the amount of units of insulin I take each time, and that's that. And this, my hopes were pretty high here because these ratios are pretty low, lower than what I'm used to in the past. So, when was it? I went to get the blood work done on the 14th, and for this test, it's recommended to fast for 14 hours. And I did that. I ate what does it say? I last ate at around 6 p.m. and it was honestly just some blueberries, so it wasn't really a heavy meal even. And I got the blood work done the next morning at 8 a.m. I didn't take any insulin. That when I woke up that morning, I woke up with a blood sugar of 103, went in, got the blood work done, came home, and my blood sugar was 140. So it was a bit high, but you know, a higher blood sugar obviously will promote insulin production if you have the ability to produce any. So again, just full disclosure, just pointing out what that is. I purposely didn't want to take insulin because if I were to, and my blood sugar was whatever, under 100 or under 90, I'm likely not producing, there wouldn't be this signal to produce any insulin. So, um, again, I'm doing that consistently when I go in and take these tests. I purely want to see what my body is able to produce, assuming I'm not injecting any insulin. So, and also now what I want to cover is because I mentioned this in my very first video. So just to forewarn people, I'm going to be showing some pictures, some gross pictures again. My very first video, I showed these of mucus in the toilet, basically. So, that comes out of what you would think. So the reason I'm I'm showing this again is because these are more recent pictures, to basically this month over the past couple weeks. And I had mentioned when I made my first video showing that, I had mentioned that the mucus had stopped for about a week or so when I made that video. And I've always like kind of been worried about that over the past man, it's getting close to 2 years now. But I've always been worried about that because I really truly understand it and believe that there's something being cleared out of my system by this mucus that I'm releasing, significant to issues with type 1 diabetes. So I've always had this slight worry of what if it stops and I'm still not healed, then what? And it's just in the back of my mind. So at that moment in time when it had stopped, there was a little bit of worry there. However, it stopped. It's so interesting because the body tends to match what you're doing with your emotions. At least what I've noticed with this during this time. I had mentioned a little bit that I've been going through a bit of a rough emotional state over the past few months, and it's specifically at that time. And man, I just to briefly say, I felt worthless. Like my life, it's kind of, it's not even justified that I felt this bad, but I really did. I really felt completely worthless. I've never felt that before, and so it was and old wounds were coming up that I couldn't access before. Like I knew they were there, but I couldn't. access them, and they came up heavy at this point in time, and it was needed. It was needed, but I'd say I didn't handle it. I don't know. I handled it the way I handled it, but I had given up addictions over the past few years, and those all came back. And so I'm not very proud of that, but at the same time, I'm happy I did that just to experience it because it was something that I needed to do. It was kind of a reminder of why I didn't want to do these things. So, but at the same time, it was an obvious fact that I was distracting myself. I didn't want to face these hard emotions that were coming up. And it was basically when I was doing those things, when I was distracting myself and not facing the emotions, which results in you basically holding on to them. You're not able to release them, was when the mucus stopped coming out of me. You might say that that's just random and like I shouldn't be connecting the two, but I'm pretty positive that that's how it happened because when I wasn't facing the emotions, my body held on and clung tight, just whatever, just the intensity of it, and nothing was being released at that point in time. Now, during that time, and I'll just briefly say, once I started facing it, once I started, again, it's so weird to say loving myself. I don't know why I have an issue saying that. That's probably one of the I don't on my own, but saying it in on a video for some reason seems weird to me. But I'll get over that, I guess. But once I focused on that, I was able to release those emotions, or at least feel them, and then they just naturally would release. And after I did that, because the mucus had stopped like at that point about a week, but it stopped for a little while longer. And every now and then, maybe just a very small amount, but it pretty much came to a halt. But then once I started focusing on these emotions, truly feeling them, then it came back up again. And I again, this is a I don't want to make it sound like a stretch, but and also it's kind of gross, but to say that doing that allowed me to start shitting out mucus is kind of a weird thing to say, but that's what has happened, and just figured I'd say that. So these are the pictures. I'll just go through them real quick, just recent ones. Some of them are kind of gross, so just to warn you, um, because once they were weird. I'm just showing these because they were weird. Like for example, this one coming up here. This is kind of a like it was just this long, stringier one, a little darker. And just to forewarn you, this next one's gonna be grosser. It's similar, but it's grosser. So I'm sorry. You can close your eyes and don't look if you don't want to. It looks so here you go. It looks like just a pile of something, but that is like it that came out as this long string type thing, and it's just kind of crumpled together now in the toilet. That's why it looks like that. But it actually like it was this long mucusy string. So like very, very weird. So yeah, that's that. And then there was a lot more blood coming up recently. And again, I understand this can be, but I'm not going to get into like people thinking I'm possibly dying or something. I know I'm not. I feel perfect. And then so yeah, this one, and then just to show this last one, I just like this one because it looks like a dragon to me. I don't know, maybe it's just me. I don't know. It's a dragon with like a weird like whisker coming out of his nose or mouth, or maybe he's eating like a lizard and it's a tail hanging out. I have no idea. That's what it looks like to me. So yeah, that's it. So just simply put, the mucus has been ongoing now for the past couple of months, even though there was a period of where it slowed down. And so yeah, that's that. So now on to the test results, which is the main thing. Here they are. So obviously the important one is the C-peptide that we're looking at, and it is now all the way up to zero point 0.6. So my very first test it was zero point 0.2. I personally think I was pretty much at zero, or at least very close to it. I just hadn't gotten a C-peptide test until a good, well, geez, 4 or 5 years into me starting to attempt to heal myself of this. And also, at least, I'm just trying to think off the top of my head, over 6 months since the whole mucus thing started. I think it was longer than that when I got the first C-peptide test, and that was at it was at zero point 0.2 even then. So I personally think it was zero. I go into explanations of that in my first video when I talk about the C-peptide, if you want to check that one out. But so yeah, so let's say I was at zero, got up to zero point 0.2, got up to zero point 0.4 back in April, and now in August it's up to zero point 0.6. So I'm obviously going in the right direction here. Now, I've looked up things online where they say type 1 diabetics generally range under like zero point 0.2 and under. But now, for and I swear that's the only thing I saw when I started looking at this. And now all of a sudden, I still see a paper that says that, but now something else is coming up saying if you're under zero point 0.6, you're considered at risk or likely having type 1 diabetes. So, I guess technically I'm still in that range. It doesn't matter. I don't care about these, it's going up. It's good and it's going up. Now, the normal range is between, at least in according to this test result here, it has a reference interval of 1.1 to 4.4. Now, if I get up to 1.1, does that mean I'm healed? Absolutely not. This is my take on this, is zero point 0.6 could be the maximum amount that I'm able to produce, regardless of whether I'm fasting or eating, right? Who knows? My assumption is if I were to eat and come in and take this test, I'd likely definitely be higher than zero point 0.6, but probably not that much higher. You know, if I'm regenerating beta cells and able to maintain them and keep them, I'm likely, I'm likely not going to be able to produce much more when I'm eating compared to when I'm fasting, at least at this current state. So even if I get up to the 1.1 range or so, maybe that just means I'd be able to fast without ever having to take insulin, or possibly eat a very low carb diet and not have to take insulin. Although I don't know what range would result in the amount of insulin that's needed for that type of diet. I'm not sure, but just because I'm in that reference interval that non-diabetics, non-type 1 diabetics would be, doesn't mean that I could go eat a cake and then all of a sudden produce a bunch of insulin, right? I'd likely still be eh, producing way too little insulin for when I eat. I think what it says is for people who are not fasting, the range is between 3 and 9. So, and that's what I mean. So, let's say I'm able to build up to a 1.1 when I'm fasting. That doesn't mean when I eat I could get a C-peptide level of 6 all of a sudden. I likely will still be very low, so it's still gonna be a work in progress. That's really all I'm trying to say. So there's that. The other test, the A1C test, again, it is too high. It's higher than I'd want. I always shoot for the at least into the fives. But again, it's hard for me to not continually test myself as far as, and what I mean is just taking a little bit less insulin, just assuming that my body's able to produce some. I do have to stop doing that. But at the same time, my thoughts on that, I don't know. I kind of go back and forth where, if I have higher blood sugar, that'll promote insulin production and kind of give my pancreas practice. But at the same time, maybe that's not a good thing. Maybe I'm regenerating beta cells to be able to produce insulin and I'm overworking them immediately, which might kill them off. I have no idea. I'm just making things up. I don't know. But ultimately, having a high A1C isn't good. So I think I need to stop doing that and just kind of get that under control. Now that said, low sixes isn't awful. It's fine. But I do want to do better there. And then lastly, I did get a glucagon test. I never got that before, and honestly, I have no idea why I did here. Someone said to, and I just I just did. I said, okay, I just figured it couldn't hurt. Glucagon is something else that the pancreas produces. I didn't think there would be any issue with that. I am in range there. And just to just to briefly explain what it is, I believe it's created by the alpha cells. I hope I'm right there, in the pancreas, and then it's just when blood sugar is low, will produce the glucagon, which will then trigger. I believe it goes to the kidney. I'm just my memory stinks. I should probably read up on this before I do these videos, but I believe it signals to the kidney to release glucose into the bloodstream, just when blood sugar's low. So whatever, I have that. It seems to be making that fine. I'm in range there, so it doesn't seem like there's any issue with that. But anyways, so that's that. C-peptide continues to go up. I am very happy with that. I'm extremely grateful that it's going in the right direction. These videos I'm making, I know they're kind of going back and forth with me saying some crazy stuff, but in my mind, it is all connected. It is all related to this weird path that I'm on, I guess. And it's all connected to healing type 1 diabetes, at least for me. Everyone's journey would be different, but at least I hope this gives hope. Currently, obviously I want to continue and do it, but if I can do it, anybody can do it. So it's not saying that I've done anything yet, but I'm making progress here, and I hope it continues, and I'll of course continue to share as I get more results. But that's that. Thanks for watching. All right, see ya.